O he Vaishnava Thakur, Dwara Sagara, Dasa Karuna Kori. Hari Hari, Hari Hari. Diapara Chaya Sorohe Amaya Tomada Sarana Dori. Chaya Bhega Domi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Devo Dase. Chaya Satsanga Deho he amare Boshachi Sange Rashe. Ekaki amar nahi pai bolo Hare Nama Sankirtane. Tumi kripa kori sharavindu diya deho Krishna nama dhane. Krishna se tomar Krishna ji se paro tomara shakti ache. Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Bodhi Daitava Pache Pache. Ohe Vaishnava Thakur Joyara Sagara Idase Karuna Kori. Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. All together. Krishna Kirtana Kana Tana Paro Premamritam Boniti Radhi Rachana Priya Priyakaro Kanamittakarina Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Nande Namakadiko Nande Rupa Sanatano Radhiyako Shiva Gopala Gauranga Gunaro Varnana Vido Shadha Samridyandito Apotapanikrintano Tanubhita Govinda Ganamritai Anandam Buddhivaranaikanikuno Sayanishtarako Vande Rupa Sanatano Radhiyako Shiva Gopalako Vaturnamashesha Mandalapati Srinim Sadatu Prabha Vajina Ganesha Karunaya Kaupina Kantashiso Gopi Babara Samrita Bilahari Kalola Magno Mahuri Vande Rupa Sanatana Radhiyako Shiva Gopalako Jaito Kilahamsa Sarasatana Kimye Mayura Kule Nani Paramula Ditapa Yukta Vrindavane Radha Krishna Mahani Samprabhadato Jivarta Doyo Muga Vande Rupa Sanatano Radhiyako Shiva Gopalako Kapurvakanama Kananatidi Kalavasani Krito Vigrahara Vihara Kari Vijato Chadyanta Dina Chayo Radha Krishna Gunasmriti Madhurima Nandena Sammohito Vande Rupa Sanatana Radhiyako Shiva Gopalako Radha Kundatake Kalinda Kanaya Tire Chabanshi Bhate Remon Marapashara Shesha Dasaya Drasto Brahmato Sada Gayanto Chakadahare Gunaparam Baba Viduto Mura Vande Rupa Sanatana Radhiyako Shiva Gopalako Hey Radhe Vrajadevate Kalalite Hey Nanda Suno Pita Shri Govardhana Kalpapada Patale Kalindi Vanye Kuta Doshantaditi Sarvato Gajapure Jai Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Guru Puja, Namasheshtam. Namasheshtam, Manamapi Sachiputram Atrasarupam, Sirupam Dasyagrajam Uruparim Maturim Goshtavatim, Rakundam Girivaram Horarika. From the top. Namasheshtam Manamapi Shachiputram Atrasarupam, Shirupam Tasyagrajam Uruparim Maturim Goshtavatim, Radha Kundam Girivaramoho Radhika Madhavasham, Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. He Guru Jnanadadina Bandho Swananda Gatha Karunayika Sindho Vrindavana Sinahitavata Rasida Radha Puraya Prachara. Hey Dinabando Karunayika Sindho Guru Prasada Mayi Mandamude Laksha Parade Bahupapa Gadhe Tatpada Padme Stumatishta Krishna Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayasta Vesha Brahma Yusha Pikridam Riddhat Mudasmaranta Yontar Bahista Lubritam Ashubham Badhunvam Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Swagatim Yanakti. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Surup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I'm a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I've fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us a shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. we take shelter of your lotus feet. Shri Guru Chara Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Silvana. Ha ha Prabhu Goya Niyamure Pada Jaya. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. One more time. One more time. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Nama Om Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Srimate Namaste Saraswati Devi Sarasvati Prasarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyari Sakarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Missed it. Try it again. Listen. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Govindaram Sriman Sudan Giridhari Gopinath Madan Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita Sirup Sri Sanatan Pataragunan Sri Jiva Gopala Pata Dasa Gunad Oh Hey Chai Gosar Tori Charana Bandan Jahote Vignanash Avishta Puran Hey Chai Gosai Jar Muitar Das Tan Sabara Pararina Mora Panchagras Here we go now. Sandara Charana Seve Bhakta Sanivas Janame Janame Hoye Abhilas Hey Chai Go Chai Chabe Chai Mikhoy Labas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Yeah Shri Shri Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Get ready Bolo Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Bolo Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Bhaja Vrindavan Bhaja Vrindavan Bhaja Vrindavan Bhaja Vrindavan Bolo Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Bolo Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Parimadhyaman Not yet, last one Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Kodeyash Harinam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamo Das Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Bol Go 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 Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Go Premanandi Hari Bol
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacarya Stotra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacarya Stotra Shri Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki, Haridas Thakur ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Mathura Dham ki, Navadvip Dham ki, Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Gangamai Yamunamai Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samavendra Bhakta Vrinda ki, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to demonstrate ways to offer obeisances. So, Krishna says that Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. Namaskuru means to offer obeisances. So there's 3 ways to offer obeisances. So one of them is when you're standing and you go like this. The next one is you're touching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. And I would like to demonstrate that. Where's the best place? If we can move this. Now, just watch what I do with the microphone. Did you see? Yes. Now, or so believe it or not, the Shastra talks about this. Don't offer obeisances on one hand. Be respectful. If you're going to offer obeisances, do it with consciousness. So if you have something in your hands, put it in your pocket, put it on the side, hand it to somebody, and then really bow down and do like this. Number 3. Did you see? Here's non. So, just to add an extra element when you're bowing down your head, because it's such a heartfelt experience. And one of the ways it becomes complete is clear your agenda before you bow down. Prabhupada noticed, and he said to some of his servants who would come in and out, and after a while, they would do what he called a chopping motion. Instead of offering obeisance, they just go, or some abbreviation. So it's just a good idea to do it consciously. Any comments? Yeah. I'll give her a mic. I'm keeping this one. Yeah.
This is gets into the. This is regarding your comment, and when we have something in our hands, just put somewhere. But sometimes we're in a situation that we don't have. I mean, we have some bead bag or something, and there is no place to put. Suddenly, we're in such a situation. Then what?
Oh, bead bag. I'll show you. Does that help? Yes. Okay, 1, 2.
I had the same question about bead bags.
Okay. Is it answered? Well, you don't have pockets. So sometimes you can find a place to put it down, or sometimes, I mean, there are always some exception, but if you plan ahead a little bit, it's just making it more conscious when you offer obeisances. It's not perfunctory. Look up the word perfunctory. Yes?
I had another question about when we should offer obeisances while other senior devotees are also offering obeisances. When should we do that, and what is the significance behind that?
When should you offer obeisances to other senior devotees?
Or when a senior devotee is offering obeisances, would we also offer obeisances? And what is the significance behind that?
Generally, the rule is if you're in a room somewhere and a senior devotee comes in, you're supposed to stand up. That's the etiquette, because your life heirs will be disturbed if you don't. And you can always remember Romaharshan Sutta. And in front of the deities, you shouldn't offer full obeisances to your spiritual master. You can do this, but it's actually not the etiquette to bow down in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even to your guru, because that's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the section of the cleansing of the Gujita temple. Inside the temple, there was a Bengali Brahmana who washed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet without him knowing it, and took the water and drank it, and Prabhupada gives a purport there where he explains that. You can offer respects like this, and then as far as other types of obeisances at other times, it's not a hard and fast rule, but it's more according to your taste. If you see somebody you respect and you want to stand up, offer obeisances, it's okay. The Goswamis of Vrindavan offered obeisances thousands of times, as we just sang, Sankhya Purvaka Nama Ganananti Bhi. So if you have a way that you want to offer obeisances to people at a certain time, then that's okay. It's not, there are certain times when it's most acceptable and appropriate. There are other times it's up to your discretion.
I had a follow-up.
Yes.
So sometimes when a senior devotee enters and pay obeisances to either Prabhupada or the deities, the other assembled devotees also pay obeisances. Is that the correct etiquette?
Well, if the senior devotee has come from outside, inside, and hasn't been there for a while, etiquette to stand up, as I said, and the other part is discretionary. It's not mandatory that every time the person bows down that you have to bow down too. Although there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
To continue on the bead bag question, what about if you're in the middle of chanting and you need to pay obeisances? Do you stop chanting that round immediately, or what do you do?
I take my bead bag out of my hand, because that's another thing. If your hand is in your bead bag and then you offer obeisances, then you definitely can't put it on the ground. So just be a little deliberate. It's not that hard if you plan ahead and you're thinking that offering obeisances is one of the big four that Krishna recommends that we do, namaskaru. So the more deliberately you can do it. So you pull your beads out, make sure they're facing in the right direction where you were before, and then make some arrangement. Prabhu?
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. I guess a follow-up to the putting stuff down. So sometimes, like I know with this bag or with my bead bags, if I'm wearing it on my neck, I'll just kind of sling it behind my back. Or with this bag, I know I can do like have all 9 points touch without being obstructed. Is the idea to not be obstructed from doing a proper obeisances, or just to put stuff away and just do it properly, fully?
Whichever way works for you. If you're highly athletic and you can move your bead bag in such a way that you can do it that way, some people do that. I've seen a lot of innovations. Sometimes people go like this. It gets a little bit dramatic after a while. So main thing, not to call a lot of attention either to yourself, that here I am, I'm offering obeisances again in my own special way, but it's really for us to bow down. And the main point here is not the semantics of it, or it's not meant to be done mechanically, but these things are meant to make us more conscious, so that it doesn't become perfunctory, which means
perfunctory is an adjective which means of an action or gesture carried out with a minimum of effort or reflection.
Yeah, and about bowing down, I saw this when I was daily doing this Vrindavan parikrama. He was at the very end of the parikram marg, this sadhu. He was sitting there. Every time somebody would walk by, he'd offer obeisance. That was his thing. He was doing that kind of a sadhana. He'd see a pilgrim, didn't matter who it was, he'd just offer obeisances and sit back up again. So it's not like a, yes?
So my question is, what all things should not be kept on the floor? Because many times I've seen devotees touching the bead bag to the floor or putting the books on the floor. So what are your comments about that?
It's respectful to not put things on the floor. Sometimes when we're in the heat of book distribution and you're talking to somebody and they don't know the difference. And Haight-Ashbury, once somebody asked me to hold their cigarette. Actually, they didn't ask me, I offered to, because they couldn't. So there I was, for the sake of selling a book. I mean, I've been in bars before too. Anyway, so, when you're in the heat of book distribution and somebody you're talking to, like, yeah, I'll give a donation, they put the book down. You can gently move it, but you don't have to make a big deal of it and say, oh, what'd you do? But we should generally, Shastra is sacred. And I see in Budapest, they have a ceremony before the Bhagavatam class where they keep the Bhagavatam that they're reading daily on the altar. And then when it's time for the class, everybody stands up and they bring the Bhagavatam and they place it. After a while, we can get over familiar and, just throw books in our trunk and they're all over the place and so forth. So no, we shouldn't put Shastra on the floor, careful as possible, but we're also not total fanatics. Some people make it their business to find other people doing stuff like that and then pointing it out every time. It's more for us just to be more conscious and respectful of Shastra, and just those who are advanced in consciousness will notice that you're taking care to treat things with respect, items that are used in Krishna's service. Like when you're doing deity worship, be careful not to cross over things with your feet. When you walk through a crowd of Vaishnavas, be careful it's the etiquette to make sure that they know you're coming, and to put one of those little, like on the front of a train, like down like this, you know what I mean? A little wedge, so that they know they can move a little bit and you can move for the crowd. If you happen to bump into somebody, it's proper that you turn around and say, sorry, excuse me. I saw once in Chicago O'Hare Airport, these two businessmen weren't paying attention. They were walking towards each other, and they clipped one another's briefcases, and they both turned around and hurled expletives at one another for clipping each other. So we don't do that. We're always careful. If you bump into anybody, speak of a devotee, you should be respectful, careful. That's the mood. And don't just put a book on the floor. Bead bag should be treated as sacred because it's a special gift we get from our spiritual master. It's a sacred item. Boy, I really opened up something here, didn't I?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for giving this. I would always think about these obeisances. Thank you for explaining. I have a question. When we are chanting japa in the morning, we want to be as attentive as possible. So it's hard to get into that flow just to where we are very attentive. And then many senior devotees walk in while you are chanting japa for their services. So I have heard earlier you said, even while performing deity worship, it is okay if we get up and pay obeisances or welcome a Vaishnav. So I feel confused here because so many senior devotees walk in and I am chanting. Should I get up and pay obeisance then go back? Sometimes it seems impractical for me to go back to the same flow of chanting.
Best thing if you want to stay in a samadhi state in your japa is to either keep your eyes closed so you don't know what's going on. Really stay to yourself. Otherwise you'll be in that dilemma all the time. It's like, should I, this and that. So it really helps. And also, I'm not saying you always have to keep your eyes closed, but I've just noticed a lot of times people come up to me. Like if I go to another temple where I haven't been for a while, friends, some people I don't even know will come up and say, hey, when did you come? How long will you be here? And so I just kind of keep my eyes closed. That's a kind of do not disturb sign. And again, it's discretionary. I see some devotees. There's a sannyasi who lived in New Vrindavan for many years. I saw him. He'd come into the temple early to chant japa. He offered obeisances to everybody. Anybody who came in, he'd offer obeisances and then get up and keep chanting. And he got enlivened by it because it was reminding him he's offering obeisances to the devotees, to Krishna in their heart and so forth. So again, it's not, it's discretionary. So if you want to chant in a certain mood and stay absorbed, then just sort of close yourself off and go for it. That's legal in japa also.
Thank you,
Well, a couple more. Yeah?
Regarding not offering obeisances in front of the deities, let's say some very senior person walks in and then we want to bow down. Obviously, here, directly I'm in front of the deities, I can do it here. But if I'm doing it from that place, where Avantika or, just there, where I'm not directly in front of the deities there, can I do it?
Yeah. Again, it's the mood of it. It's not a technicality, because sometimes you'll come into an assembly where it's an impossibility to even offer obeisances. That happens to me sometimes in Vrindavan. There's so many people, even they make a place for senior devotees, it's roped off. There's so many people in there that if I offer obeisances, I'm in danger of kicking somebody in the head. And there's not a lot of space, and I take up a lot of space. So sometimes I'll do this because that's all I can do, even in front of the deities, because it's so packed in. And sometimes I see people like taking I have to bow down even though it's not going to work and everybody knows it's not going to work and they do it anyway, and then everyone's like, ah. Okay? Uh-oh. Really is going back to the mood of these things. Remember the mood and don't become pedantic. Look up pedantic.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So the etiquette while entering the temple hall is we offer obeisances to all the devotees. So now if we are doing a service where we have to continuously move in and out, so again, is it discretionary or we should offer obeisances every time we come into a temple hall? Well,
I offer my obeisances when I come in and when I go out. Because that's the way I feel. Like I'm leaving. If I'm leaving the temple room and I'm offering obeisances to my spiritual master before I leave, if I enter the temple room and other people offer obeisances, I offer obeisances back.
Okay, thank you.
You also have to use your intelligent discretion. Yes, the pedantic means our research department needs to we need to invest in a new microphone over here.
Pedantic means someone who's too
Barely hear you. Just to.
Pedantic means someone who's too concerned with literal accuracy or formality.
Say it again.
Pedantic means someone who's too concerned with literal accuracy or formality.
With what kind of accuracy?
Literal.
Literal accuracy. So on one side we have perfunctory, and the other side we have pedantic. So perfunctory means that it's niyamagraha. You're doing it just because it's supposed to be done, or you have an idea it's supposed to be done, but you do it haphazardly or half-heartedly and without feeling. And pedantic means you get so concerned with the literal details of it that you go so much out of your way that it becomes an annoyance to everybody else, and then you lose the spirit of it at the same time. So you have to be somewhere in the middle. Don't be fanatic. I
have a question about the garland. If somebody gives you a garland,
yeah,
what should you do with it, and when, and how long should you wear it, and then where should you place it afterwards?
Garlands are Krishna's favor. They're prasadam, so you can wear them as a way. Let's look at that verse that we sing at the end of prasadam prayers. Tvayo pabukta shraganda vasalankara charchitaha utishta bojino dasa tavamayam jayimahi. Can we have that verse? What's the number? Huh? What are you, a savant? 11:6:14? 11:6:46. Let's look at it. 11:6:46. Today's Rules and Regulations Day. 11:6:46. This is Uddhava, and he says, simply by decorating ourselves with the garlands, fragrant oils, clothes, and ornaments that you have already enjoyed, and by eating the remnants of your meals, we, your servants, will indeed conquer your illusory energy. So accepting a garland from someone, or if you get a garland from a devotee, or the pujari hands you a garland or puts it around your neck, then you can wear it. And what to do with it afterwards? If you take it home, a lot of people hang them up for some time and then they dry. Otherwise, if you have a compost. You can put it in the compost at a certain point. The problem in India right now, everyone throws everything in the Ganges or the Jamuna, and it's causing a floral contamination because it's too much organic matter. And a lot of flowers also have pesticides and things on them, so it's polluting the Ganga. So you have to be a little wise, and you put organic items like this into a compost somewhere. And then there'll be happy worms. Does that answer your question? How long should you wear it?
Yeah, sometimes you're traveling and you don't have a compost.
What I do when I travel is, a lot of times when I leave a temple, they'll give me a garland. So my rule is I wear the garland until somebody asks me about it. And the first person who asks me about it gets it. So it becomes a sport. How long will I go before someone says, hey, where'd you get that? Hey, that's nice. And I go, it's all yours now. And they're like, get out of here. People don't see it very often, especially these from ISV. These are the best in the world, in my humble opinion. That they don't see garlands. Nobody wears them. They wear a tie or a scarf or something like that, but not a flower garland. And so it's maybe from Hawaii. And the mood there is that, joyful. So you can wear it as long as you wish. Or it's okay too. Sometimes devotees, maybe they're allergic to flowers, they can take them off, or some senior devotees, they don't wear them very long. It's okay too. It's up to your discretion. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's prasadam though. Yes, Akshara Nitai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. One thing I did notice with garlands is sometimes they start to break away as you wear them. So in my opinion, it's almost safer just to keep it after some time in a safe space to take it.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes with the pom-poms, they just shed everywhere. So wherever you go, you leave a trail behind you. Or if you dance in kirtan, then the whole kirtan hall will be full of flowers. So you can be aware of that and just be a little careful not to be a shedder. Okay. Radhikripa Prabhu.
Maharaj, when we see your spiritual master bowing down any places, if we are there, it's natural you feel like also doing, because it seems to be like, I know, how could you stand or what you're doing, even you're involved in the service. Is it okay to do that?
There's 3 ways. 1, 2, 3. So it's practical if you're doing a service, like say you're carrying boxes or something like that. And it has to be according to discretion. I keep saying that. Like, say if you haven't seen your spiritual master in a long time, and then you're carrying a box, you'd probably stop and put it down. But if you just saw him 30 seconds ago, and then you're walking out, it's like every time you put the box down, you're in the middle of your service. That may not be as practical. You can always show some deference and respect according to your posture, or something like that, but in a practical way. It's not meant to stop the progress of the Krishna consciousness movement when a senior devotee comes.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Is there enough air in here? Or if we did we put a moratorium on air? Okay.
Maharaj, what is the etiquette when we see devotees early in the morning before, let's say, Mangalarti, before it starts? So, like in terms of offering obeisances, we do offer obeisances after the morning program, like everybody. So, but before
like the catch-all, now let us offer obeisances. That's it for me now. I'm done. I paid my tax. I mean, the thing is, it's a heartfelt. Namaskaru, it's one of the things Krishna talks about, offering obeisances. The Goswamis offered obeisances thousands of times. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good idea to offer obeisances to devotees. So, time, place, circumstance, the only things mentioned are in front of the deities, being careful about offering obeisances even to senior devotees. If you're in front of the deities, you should be reverent. It's different with Prabhupada because he's our founder acharya. He's Shakti Vaishavatar. So we worship him on a different level. So, but that's there in Prabhupada's purport, so we should honor it and be careful. But as far as offering obeisances to devotees early in the morning, it's a good idea. It's a good thing. You see devotees, you should feel happy and want to offer them obeisances. At the same time, you should also know that devotees want to return their obeisances. So if you get in front of people, I know that a lot of Radhanath Maharaj's disciples are trained like this because they're careful to not offer obeisances in front of their guru or senior devotees. They do it from behind, because otherwise then the person you're offering obeisances to will feel like I want to return the obeisance, and if he can't or she can't, so that person will feel awkward. So then do it, but from a vantage point that won't impede their progress or something like that. Yes. Obeisances for 500.
Hey Krishna. My question was also regarding obeisances, but it was more in the sense when we're paying obeisances during Premadvani prayers or just to a devotee, what should we be thinking of? Is there anything particular that we should be saying?
One thing about obeisances, it's visceral. When you put your head down on the ground, then there's a sense of natural satisfaction. As some have said, at that time, your head is lower than your heart. Usually we work with our head and the heart comes last. But in offering obeisances, sort of a natural act of submission. Not many people do it. It's not natural. When I first saw devotees offering obeisance, like, whoa, that is really something. And when we had these two Mormons at our house, they were elders. You were there, right? They were going around the neighborhood, and I was chanting japa outside, and they said, what are you doing? And I said, these are names of God. And they said, oh, really? Tell us more about it. I said, come to my program. It's right in this house on Thursday or Friday, whenever it was. So they came over, and we were having this kirtan in our house, and then the kirtan stopped, and then the Prema Dhwani, and everybody offered obeisance. I was saying the Prema Dhwani, so that the two of them were standing there like, whoa, what happened? What are we supposed to do? It's meant to be a heartfelt way of offering respect and remembering that we're subservient to Krishna. I once did Dandavat Parikram at Radhakund Shamakund with a godbrother of mine, and after about 10 minutes, just repeatedly falling on the ground, I felt so much satisfaction. I didn't care about anything else. I just thought, this is my natural position. Now I feel happy finally. This is where I want to be, face down on the ground. Like, I give up, I surrender, I respect you, and I'm insignificant servant. And if we can do it in the mood like that, and remember, that's why I'm talking about it. It should be conscious. All the other parts are not meant for us to become pedantic, but we also don't want to be perfunctory. Right? What? Oh, who do we have? Vaikuntha Nayaka coming from Mysore, famous for Mysore Pak and the Mysore Palace, and for Vaikuntha Nayaka and his program. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, please go ahead.
Dandat Pranam, Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, all used to you. Maharaj, my question is, I'm sorry I joined a bit late, so if you have already answered it, apologies. But if one is on the Vyasasana and a spiritual master comes or very senior sannyasi comes, what is the recommendation? We know that Romaharsha and Balaram
Yep, you know
pastime.
Romaharsha, right? He should have stood up. Romaharsha, when Balaram came, he should have stood up, but he didn't do it. So discretion is a better part of valor. And it's better to make a mistake being more respectful than less. So if you're on the Vyasasana giving a class and a very senior devotee comes in, you can stand up. And somebody mentioned it earlier, this is in Shastra. If you're doing deity worship and a senior devotee comes, you should stop the deity worship, come out, if you're the only one there, and to greet the person, or even if, you should take the time to come away from your puja to Krishna, Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadika, Krishna says, worshipping the devotee is better than worshipping me. And the etiquette is, you would go and make sure that your guest feels welcome, that you offered respect, then you go back, do your achman again, sit down and complete your deity worship. And I've seen it before. I visited a godbrother, a peer actually, but I was with a few other devotees, and they weren't senior to him, they were junior. But when we got there, he was doing his puja, and this was in India. And I saw he stopped his puja in the middle, left everything the way it was, and then he made sure everyone had a seat. He brought everybody some water, juice, talked some sweet words. And when everything was fine, then he said, I'll do my puja now. And he sat back down and he started doing puja. That's the correct way you're supposed to do. Yes, Gita Priya.
Maharaj, I had a quick question about the life air disturbance. Could you go into more?
Yeah, there's some verse in Shastra somebody can find, but it has to do with the life airs. When an exalted person comes in and somehow your life airs rise, this is what the verse says, and if you don't also rise, then somehow the life airs become constricted and it causes some problem. That's a pretty off the trail kind of thing about prana and all these types of things. But the main thing is that when we get in a culture of respect, etiquette means a culture of respect. And Krishna did it. You'll notice when he came into Dwarka, as an example, that for Yudhishthir, Krishna would bow down. Krishna, he would bow down to Yudhishthir to show respect to Yudhishthir's position. For Arjuna, a hug. For Nakula Sahadev, he would let them bow down to him and, touch their heads and things like that. So when etiquette is applied properly, then mercy flows through that, because mercy flows down. And we should always observe that and be careful. When you're in an assembly or a community where people know etiquette, proper Vaishnava etiquette, you feel naturally inspired. And when the etiquette's not there, it's like, nah, it's no big deal. Then you feel a little constricted. The mercy's not flowing because we're not showing proper respect. So bowing down is a form of respect. And if we do it in a heartfelt way and we remember how to do it, and it's not the end of the world if you do it slightly wrong at the wrong time in place. Sometimes in Chaitanya's Leela, even in the case where the Bengali Vaishnav broke the etiquette and washed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet in the temple room, externally he was angry. Internally he thought, good for him. So I'm trying to make this nuanced. We shouldn't be nonchalant, in other words, perfunctory. And on the other side, we shouldn't become fanatical, in other words, pedantic. There's a spirit behind it. That's what the balance of niyamagraha means, is to do it, but do it in the right spirit. And then I'll try to observe what the general etiquette is. And if you're in a place where it's slightly different, then go with that. And don't be demonstrative the other way, just to show people up, like you guys are all doing it wrong. When you're driving on the freeway, if you're going a little over the speed limit, they won't give you a ticket if you're going the flow of traffic.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, sometimes you come late to the temple, and then the Bhagavatam class might be already going on. So when you come and offer physically obeisances, right, it may switch the attention of some of the audience. So is it okay to offer obeisances in the mind, or what is the...
I see a lot of devotees come in at different times, but they're careful to offer obeisances from a vantage point where it doesn't disturb everybody. And sometimes you see Kanishta Adhikaris, Kanishta Adhikari means Acharya eva haraye pujam yasharete natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smrita. So The verse particularly says that Archaryam eva haraye. The person only sees Hari in the deity. Everybody else can go to hell. So it means like a neophyte person who's a prakrita bhakta, they're just like barely making it on the list of Vaishnavas. They might come into the middle of a class, ring, hit the bell really loud, walk in and make a big demonstration of, and whatever it is that is demonstrative in front of the deities, not noticing that the class is going on or that there's sadhus sitting there listening to Bhagavatam. They don't get that part. Nacha anyeshu. They don't recognize. It's just Krishna. But Krishna and the devotees are one thing. They're all together. And you never separate them. And if you're going to show deference, first you show deference to the devotees. That's the Vaishnav culture. That's why we call it Vaishnavism. We worship Vaishnavas. So that's the way to do it. Just be thoughtful. If you're thoughtful, then everyone will notice, oh, that person's thoughtful, because you'll figure out. Offer from a vantage point where it doesn't disturb everybody. Yes, another question. You had a follow-up?
Is it okay to offer the obeisances in the mind sometimes?
Yeah, in some cases, we should always offer obeisances in the mind, if possible, at the right times. Yeah.
This is when class is going on. Devotees come in and then they go out. For example, if I'm going out or anyone is going out, sometimes they offer obeisances and then they go out, but doing it in front of the deities. Similarly, when someone is coming to the class, they do the same thing and then they sit down. So is that the correct thing to do when the deities are in front of them?
Yeah, because it's more in a general way and respectful that you're offering obeisances to the deity and to the general assembly. What's the point of the other directive is that if you're worshiping Krishna and the artik's going on and then somebody else walks in and then everybody turns their direction away from Krishna and offers obeisances, then you've diverted from the worship. So at the same time, if it's a very exalted devotee, you want to make sure that you show deference. So you just have to balance it and be careful. But just coming into the temple room, everyone offers his obeisances. And when they leave, they offer obeisances too. It would be more awkward and noticeable if everyone just got up and walked in and walked out. It's culture of respect.
No, it's not a matter of offering obeisances to the deities. Like when someone is getting up while the class is going on, they're kind of offering obeisances to all the Vaishnavas who are sitting there.
How do you know?
That's a way of showing respect.
Yeah, I know it is, but how do you know what they're thinking?
I don't have to know. Someone may be thinking like that. Of all the people who are there, someone may be thinking they are offering to deities also.
Yeah, probably. That's what I would think.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of deities. Even when the deities are not present, let's say a class is going on in some place, in some off-site place, there also people do it. When they walk in, they just offer obeisance.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a good idea because it shows respect. You come in, you go out. Yes, Rukmini. You'll get one. Everybody gets a mic here.
At the core of a culture of respect is cultivating sensitivity over like a performative type of bhakti. How does one really cultivate sensitivity and bring it into these spaces?
Well, partly by talking about it. That's why we're doing now. We're just discussing it and finding that niyamagraha to balance. We're not just doing it for the sake of doing it, and we don't forego it altogether because what if I'm doing it wrong? We have to do it for our own sense of satisfaction. If you come into an assembly of devotees, you won't feel satisfied if you just plunk yourself down. You want to offer, but you should do it in a graceful way, in a way that doesn't distract from the worship, a way that you don't, it's not demonstrative. You could come in and like, here I am, slam, and, make a big thing out of it. But in a culture where devotees are respecting the environment, the devotees that are there, the deities and everything, you have to just be thoughtful. If you're thoughtful, there's no problem. So that's the balance point.
I want to just share that Gaurang Darshan Prabhu released a video yesterday, and in this video he shows that Radharani, they are showing the cartoons, the Krishna cartoons, that Radharani is asking a tree, can you give me some fruits for Krishna? And the trees normally in Golok Vrindavan bow down and give everything they need. They have hands. So when the tree is thinking, okay, now I have to give fruits for Krishna, Krishna being very naughty from behind, tell the tree, don't give. He wants to just have fun. Regardless, the tree just gives the fruits to Krishna, and to Radharani for Krishna. So that makes Krishna more happy. So when we take care of devotees, Krishna is more happy.
Relationships with Krishna, some devotees wrestle with him. And they'll jump on him, jump on his back and push him to the ground and say, see, you're not very tough. Any day I could take you right here. And, somebody from the outside may say, like, what kind of respect is that? We're in Vaidhi Bhakti. We worship Krishna, Radha and Krishna, even as Lakshmi and Narayan, because that's Vaidhi. When there's a sense of unceremonious love, that's Vrindavan. But in order to develop love for Krishna, we first have to observe etiquette and the rules and regulations. So we talk about it. But at the same time, we also have to, and this is the last time I'll say it, and then we'll move on, because I think I'm saying the same thing over and over again, and that is that we have to be careful to observe the etiquette, but we also should be aware of the mood of it, why we're doing it, and so forth. And if we become too overwhelmed with the sense of it has to be done exactly like that or that. Like sometimes you say you're offering obeisances in a certain direction, like you should keep the deities on your left when you offer obeisances. But sometimes you can't. You'll come in and they're like, well, what do I do? Let me plow through the crowd and make sure that, give me room. I have to put my left side here. The point is to bow down. And then, a lot of people, they'll get an idea that it has to be in a certain way, like you should offer obeisances to Prabhupada with your left side. But Hari Bhakti Vilas says you should offer obeisances to the spiritual master head on. It's right there in Shastra. No, not many people know that. So if I walked in somewhere and offered obeisances head on to Prabhupada, everyone would think, he doesn't know what he's doing. And so there's all these ideas. So that's why I said sometimes you have to go the speed of traffic. In New Vrindavan, I have no idea how to offer obeisances, because sometimes the deities are open, and then if you offer obeisances to Prabhupada with your left side, your feet are to the deities. So just figure it out the best you can and be devotional, and then everything's going to be fine. And don't keep stuff in your hand as much as possible, like a cup of, juice, and then you offer obeisances like. That's a kind of obvious. You won't see advanced. Well, I just be careful, and it doesn't mean the end of the world if somebody does it wrong. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. They're trying to offer obeisances. Don't find it in other people. Just watch yourself. That's the system. Prabhupada said you should keep your eyes trained to spot offenses in your own practice, not in other people's. Like, hey. Om Tat Sat. Owarimashita. Hogya. Terminado. We can talk about etiquette at different times, from the Shastra and things. It's a good thing to talk about. And in the meantime, we should it's meant to make us more aware and devotional, that's all. So yesterday we were discussing what will be the next set of verses that we'll memorize. Everybody now knows all the verses forwards and backwards from Divinity and Divine Service. And if not, you've got 6 days. After that, we want to go into the next set of verses to memorize, commit to memory. And yesterday, when I asked in the Pandit circle what they thought, there was a lot of enthusiasm for Prahlad Maharaja's prayers in the 9th chapter of the 7th canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam. We can discuss it again, just really briefly. One other suggestion was to make sure that we know the Mangalacharana from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We've said it a lot of times, and I think we have a pretty good feel for it. But one point is, Gaur Purnima is coming up. See what I'm saying? And if we, after Bhadra Purnima, we did the Mangalacharana, and then right after Gaur Purnima, we started with Prahlad Maharaja's prayers, then that would take us right up to Nrsimha Chaturdasi. And thus we start a new trend here, where besides just offering the book results and the results from our bhakti community, we'll also, each period of time, we'll use to memorize another set of verses. And if you don't memorize it, at least just become absorbed in it and familiar with it. If you like memorizing things, which I think is a good idea, it's nice if you can work on it. It's good for the brain. What do you think? Good? So that way we can, the day after Bhadra, we'll start with the Mangalacharana. And the day after Gaur Purnima, we'll start with the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. Yes, Akshara
Hare Krishna Maharaj. One thing I was thinking though was Prahlad Maharaj's prayers are quite long.
Okay.
Big verses. So, and since I think most people are familiar with the Mangalacharana for Chaitanya from CC, if we could probably allocate a little bit more time than the 2 months that we might get.
Yeah, I was thinking of that also last night. We could do them simultaneous. We could start on them both. Yeah, Shastra Sar.
I know that, Hare Krishna, I know this might be unpopular considering we suggested Prahlad Maharaja's prayers yesterday, but if I was thinking the same thing, Prahlad Maharaja's prayers are significantly longer, and because not only is the number of verses more, but also the verses themselves are longer. So I was thinking that maybe to start off with, we could also do Dhruva Maharaj's prayers, because those are the 2 chapters that Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit used to discuss a lot.
It's a nice conundrum to have, right? Which we want to read first. And I think that it's nice to be able to offer the prayers on Nrsimha Chaturdasi. Dhruva will consider that for maybe another time. Is that okay? Yes. Yeah. So let's look at the first verse that we're going to start with when we do memorize this. And feel free to start now. We'll get it printed out. And we'll have it available, and we can even say the verses at any time. And to get started, we can always say the Mangalacharana from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this verse is generally where people start to chant these verses at number 7. Ashtau siddharim ekagra manasa susamahitaha prema gadgadaya vacha tanyasta hridayekshana astaushid he began to offer prayers. Harim, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ekagra Manasa, the mind being completely fixed upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Susamahitaha, very attentive, without diversion to any other subject. Prema Gudgadaya, faltering because of feeling transcendental bliss. Vacha, with a voice. Tat Nyasta, being fully dedicated to Him. Lord Nrsingadev. Hridaya Ikshanaha, with heart and sight. That's nice, with heart and sight. Hridaya Ikshana. Prahlad Maharaj fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Nrsingadev with full attention in complete trance. With a fixed mind, he began to offer prayers in love with a faltering voice. Let's say it all together. Prahlad Maharaj fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Nrsingadev with full attention in complete trance. With a fixed mind, he began to offer prayers in love with a faltering voice. Purport. The word susamahita means very attentive or fully fixed. The ability to fix the mind in this way is a result of yoga siddhi, mystic perfection. As it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.13.1, Dhyana vastita tadgatena manasa pashanti yam yogina. One attains yogic perfection when he is freed from all material diversions and his mind is fixed upon the lotus feet of the Lord. This is called samadhi or trance. Prahlad Maharaj attained that stage beyond the senses. Because he was engaged in service, he felt transcendentally situated, and naturally his mind and attention became saturated in transcendence. In that condition, he began to offer his prayers as follows. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Milidham Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvajutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shivesha Kanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakti Nitai Naminetche Namirhate Shadamulye Namdite Chere Nitai Naminetche Namirhate Shadamulye Namdite Chere Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. And if you clap at the wrong time, you're out of the movement. Just as an aside. We should move that slide past Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, because it's almost impossible to get that right. Nitai Namaneche should come before Hare Krishna, not before Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, unless somebody figures out where to clap. Ashtaushid Harim Ekagra Manasa. So we're going to go through this verse a little bit, and we'll refer as much as possible to Divinity and Divine Service for support of these different ideas, and of course any other Shastra. But first of all, we have the concept of ekagra. So this is something that is recommended in many places, and we also have Prabhupada mentioning in the purport about samadhi. D is the root to the idea of meditation or dhyan, and it means to be fully absorbed in one point or one object. So ekagra and samadhi. Sama means completely absorbed in one place. The ability to do that, as Prabhupada mentions here, has to do also with our state, the state that we're in. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajantimam dhridavrita. The dhridavrita means that one can be very determined and one's mind can be pointed in one direction and you can complete the task. When you're dhridavrita, the sense is you're able to make a vow and keep it. You're able to plan on something and your attention goes there and you're able to keep it there without being diverted. That's a kind of siddhi, as is mentioned here, because most people are distracted. It's one of the obstacles to being steady in devotional service. One of the notable 5 is distraction. Interesting that Krishna means attraction, and distraction means that I can't think of Krishna, I think of everything else. Thank you. So in the Gita, Krishna says, Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punya karmanam. He says that we have to be in a state in our life where we're not disturbed by the reactions to interaction with lower modes of nature, sinful activities, things that are vikarmic. And when we're freed from those, when we're living a balanced, clean life, and we're not jabbed constantly by material desires, which are karma. Our karma for engaging in the material world is more stimulation to engage again. It's one of the ways that the material world is designed to teach us that if you touch it, then you have to buy it. You touch it, you bought it, it's yours. And everything that goes along with that, now you're responsible for it. We were kids and we'd go on vacation and we'd stop in some place where there was a gift shop. They often had signs, or our parents warned us, don't touch anything. Because if you break it, it's yours. And kids have a hard time not breaking things, especially when they're delicate. And the interaction we have with the material world is delicate. We look at things, we consider them. Dhyayato vishayam pumsam sangasteshu bhajayate. There's that word again. It comes from D, which means that if I look at it, I think about it, I contemplate it, which means I think there's something in it for me. Maybe I want that, then now I have a sangha with it and there's a connection. And then it won't go away. It sticks to me. So some people practice not looking at anything, and that doesn't necessarily work out. Once in San Francisco, just after I joined the movement, lots of people were interested in spirituality back in the early 70s, and I remember somebody came. You know what a harmonica holder is? When you play harmonica and guitar at the same time, then you need one of those because you have. And so this fellow came and he joined the ashram, and he was better than everybody else because he would never take his eyes away from Krishna. And how did he do it? He had a harmonica holder and he put a picture from the BTG there, so it was always in front of him. And when he was chanting japa, he would always like walk around and he was just looking at Krishna, wouldn't talk to anybody else. And he started a practice of circumambulating the temple, which was a wide city block, so he had to go around. And then apparently the circumference got bigger because he never came back to the temple after a while. We've seen also people prematurely go to Radhakund. When we used to go with Prabhupada to India, there was always somebody, could count on it, that like, I'm going to Radhakund, and they'd go sit down there with the Babajis and just start chanting all day. And Prabhupada predicted that they wouldn't last, and that was true. They go there with a sense that I'm going to just chant Hare Krishna like Haridas Thakur, despite the fact that Prabhupada warned against it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, don't do that, you're not ready for it. They would do it anyway, and after a while, they would take up the lifestyle of the local monkeys who jump from one tree to the next. They have the males have many girlfriends and so forth. So we have to find a sustainable way of life that supports our practice of devotional service so that we can have the steadiness. And as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, it's a very elevated state of consciousness that allows us to be steady in the first place. To come to Nishta is a very high position. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobhadayaschaye cheta iter navidam. Stitam sattve means that you're able to stand in Shuddha Sattva. In this verse, Tada Rajas, the Sattva, doesn't mean the mode of goodness in the material world. It actually means you're situated in the spiritual platform. Stitam Sattve Prasidati. From that hearing and chanting, you'll be able to come to a position where you're in Shuddha Sattva and you're not moved by anything in the material world. That's Prahlad Maharaja's condition here, as is being mentioned. And we could also, thinking of divinity and divine service, Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati shrotavya kirtitavyascha deyam pujastanichida. What does it start with? Tasmad, therefore, and if you back up before that, ATV kid, so it goes backwards to Atovai Kavayonitam. What's before? Atabhumbur Dvija Shreshta Varnashrama Vibhagasha Swanustistasya Dharmasa Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Then you have Tashtradadhana Munayo Jnanavairagya Yuktaya Pashantyatmani Chatmanam Bhakta Shruta Grihitaya, which means that you should be fortified. You have to fortify yourself. Tasmat Tashtradadhana Munayo, those who are engaged very faithfully hearing, and they're thoughtful, munayo, jnana vairagya yuktaya, they develop these assets of knowledge and detachment. Pashyanti atmani chatmanam bhakti shruta grihitaya. From getting situated spiritually, then there's possibility to practice in a steady way. And there's a progressive way of doing that. Now take a few reflections. Yes. Do we need more air? Anybody? No? You're freezing cold? Okay.
In the verse, it was said about Narasimhadev, if you can bring the verse again, about the focusing on the lotus feet of Krishna, of Narasimhadev. I was remembering that in the third canto, it says that each and every limb of Krishna, why we have to meditate on that. And special focus is given on the lotus feet because it has all of these symbols. And one of the symbols being thunderbolt, it is written that we need to focus on the lotus feet for a long time. And that was also mentioned in this verse, to completely absorb for a long time, because of we have so much accumulated contamination and sins, almost like a mountain. And what can destroy a mountain? Only the thunderbolt from Krishna's lotus feet. So that one really resonated with me because obviously I have a lot of sins. So each and every limb was mentioned like for one different purpose.
Nice. Nicely done. Yes.
I like the point when you mentioned to find a sustainable way to support one's life. And the question I had was, it was mentioning how devotees prematurely take to like chanting like Haridas Thakur. But it is also said that how we also need to chant more to be able to increase our taste for chanting. So if you could elaborate how to practically do it.
There are four, I forget what I'm calling them. Huh? 4 frames? 4 frames, as in framing a house and building a foundation that help to sustain a chanting, practice of chanting. The first frame is to know what's in it for you. Because the best advertising is benefits-based. I once took a course on advertising, and they taught us, in any product they showed us, to say, right at the top of the page, you get, and then say what the customer gets. And people would come up with ideas, and the teacher would say, no, that's not a benefit, that's a feature. You're talking about features, like someone says, it's a drill, it's the fastest drill there is. Like, nope, that's not a benefit, that's a feature. So what is the person thinking about? They're thinking about, I want a hole. They don't think I want a drill. I need a hole. Why do you need the hole? Because I'm going to hang a picture. Well, what's in the picture? Picture of my mom. That's the benefit. You're going to have your mom on the wall. That's why you're buying the drill. You have to go back to that. And in a similar way, when considering chanting the holy name, we have to see from the Shastra, what is it that I'm getting from this? Because the mind's always, it's got one of those roaming devices like we have on our phone. If you walk down the street with your phone, you'll notice it's like, this house? How about in here? Can I connect to that network? How about this one? That one's open. Can I connect there? It's always looking for some network to connect to. So the mind is like that. And unless we have a clear idea that there's nowhere else to go, this is the network to hook to. No other network is going to satisfy me. And that's one of the first frames. So there are so many verses and stories about the holy name. The best of them all is what Shukadev talks about in the 6th canto, about Ajamil. Because you have one of those rags to riches stories that everybody loves. Here's a guy who had a good life and then he totally blew it. You can't blow it much worse than that. And then somehow or other, by the power of the holy name, Krishna protected him. And so it's kind of one of those stories. If he can do it, you can do it too. And have an idea of what the benefit of the holy name was, that it saved him from the material world. Next, what's the next thing? Next frame. Thank you. I'm glad we have people with some IQs around here. All of you, that is. Current speaker accepted as an exception. Then you have to make a vow. Sometimes we hesitate to make a vow because they think, then I don't get to do what I want to do. If I make a vow to be there on Saturday, then like, yeah, but I wanted to do something else. And when we make the vow, however, then it opens up the energy, because we've decided we're going to do it, and after we decide, that's when we find out the power to do it. Next is? You make voluntary life improvements. I'm playing with that one because just changing for the sake of change is not necessarily helpful, but if you make voluntary life improvements, find the ways that you can improve your life. For instance, if you're clean, that really helps. That's one of the reasons that we have this idea of we come to the Brahminical level. We don't care about Brahmanism in and of itself. However, the kind of practice of Panchratrik Vidhi that we do, and we get into the rules and regulations, we want that to sustain our purity. And this is what Jiva Goswami mentions when we take the mantra Diksha. It's a process from the Panchratrik system. And when we do that, then that helps sustain our chanting, because our chanting is the mainstay. Krishna, as his holy name, is the deliverer, and we get all spiritual advancement from chanting the holy name. But if you're not regulated and your senses aren't purified by worshiping the deity and living a Panchratrik type of life, then you won't be able to chant for very long. In one sitting or in your life. You'll give it up at some point, and many people have. They just sort of wander off. They don't even notice it for 20 years. And then they'll come back and they'll notice that, oh, there's devotees on the planet. I used to be one, and I totally forgot. That's how powerful Maya is. So we have to take every advantage of lifestyle improvements that get us in a situation where we can try to sustain the strict practice over a lifetime, at least one lifetime, and see what happens. Because you can reason, as Prabhupada did often, he said, you've already given so many lifetimes for random engagement and doing whatever you want to do. Why not just give one lifetime to Krishna? So keeping that in mind and finding the points that you can improve your lifestyle so that it supports your chanting, and you do it voluntarily, then you make your practice steady. And the fourth one? Yeah, keep the trail open. Because there's a way in which consistency is king. And if you stay consistent with something, even when you don't feel like doing it, but you do it anyway, it'll hold a space for you so that you can keep going. And if you just taper off by degrees, then after a while it gets overgrown. The trail gets overgrown, and then you can't find your way to the trail anymore, and it becomes very difficult. So one way or another, keep the trail going. And one of the verses from Shastra, Nama parada yuktanam namanyeva harantyagam avishrani prayuktani namyevartakarani cha, says that even if you're an offensive chanter, there's 3 stages. There's offensive, clearing, and pure. And even if you're in the offensive stage, don't stop chanting, it says. Continue to chant and do your quota, even if you don't feel like it, because the chanting of the holy name is so beneficial. Even if you accidentally say one verse of one name in a sincere way, it'll clear your path to move up to the next level. 4 things. At least as I thought of them. Doesn't mean they're indelible, but I'm just trying to make a framework that will help new people come up to 16 rounds. We give evidence of why it's important to keep a number, and especially a number that's been given by our Acharya, and also for those who want to maintain their practice over a lifetime and not cheat or give in to useless kind of, stopping the chanting or not doing it with attention. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So you were talking about how the material world is so distractive. So one has to be very careful in maintaining the attention. So I was thinking of this many times we fail to see the connection of the things or events that are happening in our lives with Lord Krishna, how they are arranged by Krishna. I was remembering this, Ruterdam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani, tadvidyadatmano mayam yada bhaso yada tamaha. So when we try to see as it has a reflection of the reality in this world, then it may not distract us much.
Right. I agree. Just in a very practical way, if we're able to see the world through the lens of the Shastra, and even we'll see how the external energy is working, and we should observe it. That's why vidyam cha yas, vidyayam ratum tirtva. A little more gusto. This is a verse from the Sri Upanishad said, only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So there's a way in which when we are practicing devotional service and we're also observant of how nescience works, and we see it for nescience, then it's no longer nescience, it's Krishna's energy working. And Krishna even notices that himself. He'll watch his energies and think, wow. Like when when the cowherd boys all walked into Aghasura's mouth, Krishna was thinking, it's amazing how my energies work. Like what's making them walk in the... They don't think it's a good idea, but they're walking in there anyway. But he noticed his energies working. We should also do that. And if we see, the mode of ignorance, then we know, oh yeah, that's how it works. I remember just after starting to read the Bhagavad Gita, everywhere I was looking, I noticed the modes in it. Oh yeah, that's mode of ignorance. That's mode of passion. I can see it. People are driving down the street. Like, where are they going? That's what I was thinking. They're just running on a circle like one of those little mice. I would say rat, but that might freak everybody out. But yeah, a little mouse running around. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for a wonderful session here. Just a couple of things came to mind. Like you were talking about faltering while chanting. I was definitely doing that for a couple of years now, I think. But something changed. Definitely just chanting while driving and cooking and picking up kids and all that. But now chanting has become such an important part of life, and I'm able to concentrate better while chanting. In fact, I do look for slots in my day when I'm by myself, even if it's in the office. But I can book a conference room and just finish my rounds. The other thing it did is really help me to fast longer. I've been able to do Ekadashi recently now with water only. So I think there is such power in chanting. It's magic. But one of the points you made is we have spent so much life in material world, and just coming into Krishna consciousness recently in my life, I have touched the material world, and you kind of feel stuck, and you do feel like you leave everything and go back to Vrindavan. I can't do that, I know. But there's these deep desires that do make you feel like, what am I doing here? This is not where I belong. Until I come to temple, I do feel this is Vrindavan for me. But how do you sort of deal with those emotions when you feel so much pulled towards Vrindavan and Govardhan and all the dhams back in India?
We've all touched the material world. We're in it. And it's a process of purification that takes place over a long period of time. And we need to be patient, says Rupa Goswami. We also have to be confident in the medicine. When we're confident we're taking the right medicine from the right doctor, then there's a sense, okay, it hasn't worked yet, but I know it will. The case studies are in, 98% successful, very few side effects. If you're taking some medicine and you think, yeah, I just have to keep taking a little bit longer. The fact that there is some residual effect or more from our connection to the material world is quite natural, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Devotional service and its power will come of its own force at the right time. And even if we decide we don't want it at that point, it's too late. It'll drag us. And missteps that we make in the material world as we're practicing devotional service may not be detrimental. They may become the pillars to success. As far as going to Vrindavan goes, Prabhupada said go for 3 days or go for 3 years. If you have service in Vrindavan, then you can go for 3 years. Otherwise, you can go with a yatra. That's also beneficial. We're doing that this year 3 times, going to Govardhan on the 15th, or at least to Vrindavan first for some parikram to holy places, then we'll be camped out at Govardhan Hill. And devotees will come there and we'll hear and chant together for a few weeks. Then we'll come back. Then we'll go again. We'll go to Calcutta to visit the holy places where Prabhupada was born, where he met his guru. We may even go to Panihati. I was talking to Radhanath Maharaj the other day, and he said, a good thing to do, get on a boat and go to Panihati. It's only an hour, he said. He went there once, and he said, fantastic. So we'll do that, and then we'll go to Mayapur, and then we'll visit many holy places in Mayapur, and then we'll come back again, and then we'll fly back to Puri. We'll go to Jagannath Puri via Bombay, as we're going to do a program in Juhu. And then we'll go down to Puri, and we'll do pilgrimage there. It's fantastic. We'll go to see all the places where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes there, like the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Just to sit in there and to remember that pastime is life-changing, isn't it? And then we'll also go to the Gambhira. So many devotees, we sang songs in the Gambhira there with the right ragas, and everybody was affected. And then you come home and you're changed. So the point about going on pilgrimage, it's good to want to go to Vrindavan. You can only go according to what your schedule allows at certain parts of your life. And if you plan ahead for it and you do it, what you'll find is that it's a great austerity. Picking up from our lives where we're trying to get all our ducks in a row, and they appear to be mostly there, to pick up and go to Vrindavan for a couple of weeks or a month, you really have to think about it. Like, who's making the money? Who's going to take care of my lawn? What about this? And we realize when we take these little diversions to the Holy Dham that I'm really juggling a lot of things. And when you get on the plane, when you're taking off, what happens to me is as soon as I get on the plane, I'm thinking of so many things I didn't do. And the week before I leave is the most productive time I ever have. It's like, yeah, I got to call him back. So then when I get on the plane, you know that time when they say, we're ready to take off, and you feel a little nudge because they just engaged it and it's moving back? So what happens to me, I'm sitting there thinking of everything I should have done, and as soon as I feel that little bump, I go, and I usually wake up in the air, it's like, where am I? And when we do that, and we realize life goes on without me, it's really important, especially for grihastas, to take some time, plan it for whatever you can afford to go to the Dham for a yatra. It's one of the 5 most potent forms of devotional service. Take the kids. Let them feel what it's like too. And then go there and just experience it. I have a friend who religiously went every year for Kartik, still does, and got me into going on a regular basis years ago. It's been 21 years now. Pandemic, we don't count because they wouldn't let us in India for at least 2 years, so we missed it. But other than that, it's been 21 years straight. And just the knowing that that's on the schedule, you're going to go into the Dham, take the time there, there's nothing that can replace it. And your feeling of coming to the temple and feeling you're in Vrindavan, and all the other symptoms you're describing, these are, your advancement in devotional service, definitely advancing. And nothing succeeds like success. When you see it for yourself, and it's unmistakable, say, I couldn't do this before, but now I can. Then you realize it's working. And when you realize that, then you think, well, maybe I'll do a little more investment in this. And it just compounds. The interest compounds, and you become more and more dedicated to the process. So you're doing it. You're doing all the right things. It's obvious. So just keep doing it. Radhakripa Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
By the way, we have 3 minutes before
I'll
Mukharavinda Prabhu has taken the solemn duty of, I think it's Mukharavinda, to take me out of here? Or are you taking me somewhere?
I think
okay.
Maharaj, just wanted to share a small story. When I was in Govardhan, I never made a full parikrama, but once I thought I will try, and then I found a local devotee. I don't know him. He just took the short turn. I thought I will follow him because that will be the shortest route. And so I'm going to just make the story more shorter. But that gentleman is, he's a devotee, has been in love with Govardhan, and he make parikrama twice a day and comes once in a week. Then he does that. And he's from Haryana, a very influential person, but now he's settled there. But I wanted to add that I was following him because I thought, the shortcuts, so then I don't need to walk longer. I will be back for the regular session and all that. And then when we started talking, I said, thank you very much for, I'm just following you because you helped me really first time I even finished my, parikrama. He said, I was walking slow, not just because I want you to follow me, but since you were chanting, I never chanted before. And I was just thinking, while I'm doing the parikrama for so many years, I never chanted. So I wanted to hear what you were chanting. So I was just thinking about even when you're Brajvasi, you're living there, the holy name still attracts the mind by the mercy. So I was really thrilled and, surprised and was very happy. So just wanted to share that.
These little incidents that take place in our lives, and especially in the Dham, they're gifts from Krishna. They're assets that we take in, and they become part of us. And that's an accumulation we get over a lifetime of our experience. The festivals, when we feel, I don't want to be anywhere else, or we go from one to the next and we feel like, okay, this is a better life than what people are walking around. Sometimes, I was talking to a devotee yesterday about being absorbed in Rath Yatra, and then walking away from the Rath Yatra, like in Los Angeles, across the Venice Strip, and thinking, oh, people still do this out here. Because we start to feel like, why would you do anything else but be an Hare Krishna festival? And then people are eating weird things, listening to very bass music and so forth. And then you think, wow, that's strange. And that's a good feeling to see that actually you're separating and you have a taste for Krishna consciousness. So we've got, I'm not sure exactly what we decided, but it sounded like we're going to work on the Mangala Charana for the Chaitanya Charitamrita and already start with the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. Is that okay, Shastrasar? We'll keep in mind about the Dhruva Maharaj thing. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radhaman Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshman Shringadev, if you so desire, please give us a taste for all the devotional practices, and please also let us have a kind heart so that we reach out and give them to others. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in part or in whole, please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Krishna, Hare Krishna. We have to shut the water off in the building. It's all off. 10 o'clock, the water is going to be shut off. So just plan accordingly, because no water, no life. Haribo.
I've more than doubled my Signal account.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om